My dear friend, I want to tell you something from the depths of my heart today. I see you. I see you scrolling through your phone at midnight when you should be sleeping. I see you watching one more video, then another, telling yourself just 5 more minutes. I see you spending hours on things that make you feel empty inside, things that steal your time, your energy, your very life force. And I want to ask you something very simple, something that might change everything for you. What are you doing with your time? No, really, what are you doing? Because time, my friend, is not just time. Time is life itself. Every second that passes is a piece of your existence that you will never get back. Imagine someone came to you right now and said, "Here is a bag of gold coins. Every morning, I will give you 86,400 of these coins. But there is one rule. Whatever you do not use by the end of the day will disappear forever. You cannot save them. You cannot store them, use them, or lose them. What would you do? Would you waste them? Would you throw them away on useless things? Of course not. You would use every single coin with care, with purpose, with intention. But my dear friend, this is exactly what happens with your time every single day. Every day, you get 86,400 seconds. Every single day. And what are you doing with them? Are you investing them in yourself, in your growth, in becoming the person you were meant to be? Or are you throwing them away on things that do not matter, things that make you weaker, things that pull you down instead of lifting you up? I am not here to judge you. I am here to wake you up. I am here to tell you that you have greatness inside you. But that greatness will never come out if you keep wasting your most precious resource. Today, I am going to share with you 12 things, 12 habits, 12 patterns that you must stop doing if you want your life to change. These are not just ideas. These are truths I have learned through my own life, through my own struggles, through watching thousands of people just like you. And if you listen with an open heart, if you really take these words inside you and let them work on your soul, I promise you, your life will never be the same again. You see, most people live their entire lives like beggars. Not beggars of money, no beggars of approval. Beggars of validation, beggars of love from the outside world. They stretch out their hands every single day, hoping someone will drop a coin of appreciation into their empty palms. And when that coin doesn't come, they feel worthless. They feel broken. They think something is fundamentally wrong with them. But I tell you this with every fiber of my being. You are not a beggar. You never were. You are royalty that has forgotten its own kingdom. Look at a lion in the forest. Does the lion ask the deer, "Do you think I am powerful?" Does the lion seek permission from the bear, trees to roar? No. The lion knows what it is. The lion lives from that knowledge. And that is exactly what you must do. Right now, in this very moment, you are carrying within you infinite potential. Not potential that needs to be created, potential that already exists. It is there, like fire hidden in wood, like oil hidden in a seed. Your work is not to create this power. Your work is to recognize it, to claim it, to live from it. I remember meeting a young man in Calcutta many years ago. He came to me with tears in his eyes. "Swamiji," he said, "I am nothing. I have no talents, no skills, no future. Why was I even born?" I looked at him for a long moment. Then I asked him, "Can you breathe?" He looked confused. "Yes, of course." "Can you think? Can you feel? Can you choose what thought to hold in your mind right now?" "Yes. But then you have everything." I told him, "You have consciousness. You have will. You have the same divine spark that exists in every saint, every tires, sage, every master who has ever walked this earth. The difference between you and them is not what you have. The difference is what you believe about what you have." That young man stood there, silent. Something shifted in his eyes. Not immediately, truth rarely works like lightning. But it worked like rain, slowly soaking into dry soil. And this is what I need you to understand. Your beliefs about yourself are creating your entire reality. Not sometimes, not partially, always. Completely. If you believe you are weak, you will find 1,000 proofs of your weakness. If you believe you are unworthy, the universe will mirror that unworthiness back to you in every relationship, every opportunity, every door that closes in your face. But listen carefully, if you dare to believe in your own divinity, if you dare to stand up inside your own consciousness and declare, I am powerful, I am capable, I am infinite spirit in human form, then everything changes. The world does not change, you change. And when you change, the world you perceive transforms entirely. I have seen this with my own eyes, in my own life. When I wandered across India as a penniless monk, I could have seen myself as abandoned, as forgotten by God. Many did see me that way. They threw stones. They slammed doors. They called me a madman for renouncing wealth and comfort. But I carried within me a different belief that I was walking in the footsteps of truth, that every rejection was refining me, that every hardship was the universe testing my resolve. And because I believed it, I found teachers in the dust, wisdom in hunger, God in the eyes of the poorest beggar. Your beliefs are not passive things. They are active forces. They shape not just how you interpret reality, but how you interact with it. A person who believes they are destined for greatness walks differently. They speak differently. They meet someone's eyes with a different energy. And people feel that. Opportunities sense. Life itself responds to the frequency you are broadcasting. This is why two people can experience the exact same event, let's say a failure, a rejection, a devastating loss, and one emerges broken while the other emerges forged in fire. The difference is not in what happened. The difference is in the story they told themselves about what happened. One says, this proves I was never good enough. The other says, this is preparing me for something greater. Same event. Completely different lives afterward. Now, here is where it gets even deeper. Your beliefs don't just affect your future, they reach backward and rewrite your past. Think about that. When you change what you believe about yourself, you suddenly see your history through new eyes. That failure you've been ashamed of for years? Suddenly, it becomes the catalyst that redirected you toward your true path. That betrayal that haunted you? It becomes the teacher that showed you your own strength. The facts don't change. But the meaning is reborn. So if you are sitting there right now, weighed down by regret, convinced that your past defines your limits, understand this. You have the power to reinterpret everything. You are not a prisoner of your history. You are the author of its meaning. The mistake most people make is believing they need permission to change. They wait for the world to acknowledge their transformation before they dare to step into it. But transformation does not ask for permission. It does not wait for applause. It happens in silence, in the small, sacred moments when you choose differently than you did yesterday. I have seen people rebuild their entire lives from rubble. I have watched a man who lost everything, his family, his wealth, his reputation, sit in meditation and discover something unshakable within himself, not hope, not even faith. Something deeper. Recognition. Recognition that beneath all the labels, beneath all the stories of success and failure, there exists an unchanging witness. The self that observes your thoughts is not affected by their content. The awareness that watches your emotions is not drowned by them. This is not philosophy meant to comfort you. This is practical instruction for your survival. When you understand that you are not your circumstances, you stop negotiating with them. You stop bargaining with life, saying, I will be happy when this changes, when that arrives, when those conditions align. You realize that peace is not the fruit of perfect conditions. It is the soil from which you grow, regardless of season. Let me tell you what freedom actually looks like. It is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of perspective. It is standing in the middle of chaos and knowing, not hoping, not believing, but knowing that you contain something that chaos cannot touch. Every saint, every master, every human being who has ever inspired generations did so not because their lives were easy, but because they refused to let difficulty define them. You think your challenges are unique? You think your pain is special? The details differ, but the essence is identical across every human heart. Fear of inadequacy, terror of abandonment, desperation for meaning. These are not your private demons. They are the human condition. And every person who has transcended them did so through the same gate. Acceptance without surrender. Engagement without attachment. The greatest tragedy I have witnessed in my travels is not poverty, though I have seen much of it. It is not ignorance, though darkness covers vast populations. The greatest tragedy is the wealthy man who believes he has nothing, the educated person who thinks themselves foolish, the beautiful soul who sees only ugliness in the mirror. You call this humility, I call it violence against the divine. There is a story from the Upanishads that haunts me still. A young lion, separated from its pride, was raised among sheep. It learned to bleat, to eat grass, to fear its own shadow. One day, an old lion found it and dragged it to a still pond. "Look," the old lion commanded. "What do you see?" The young lion saw himself the mane, the teeth, the eyes of a predator, and in that moment, the spell broke. It did not become a lion, it recognized it had always been one. You are that lion, my friend. And I am dragging you to the water. The mind that torments you with inadequacy, understand its mechanism. It compares, constantly, ruthlessly. It measures you against phantoms, the person you imagine you should be, the achievements you believe you ought to have, the peace you think others possess. This comparison is not analysis, it is self-mutilation disguised as self-improvement. Stop measuring, start experiencing. When the anxious thought arrives, and it will arrive, perhaps even as you hear these words, do not fight it. Do not welcome it. Simply observe it as you would observe a cloud passing through the words. Sky. You are not the cloud. You are the sky itself, vast and unchanging. The weather of your mind, the storms, the sunshine, the terrible gray fog, these are temporary. They move through you, but they are not you. This distinction is everything. I have met monks who meditated for decades, yet remained prisoners of their own minds. I have met laborers who found freedom while carrying stones. The difference was never in the circumstances. It was in the fundamental recognition. I am the witness, not the witnessed. I am awareness itself, not the contents of awareness. Your depression whispers that you are broken. It is lying. What is broken can be fixed, and what is fixed was once whole. But you were never broken to begin with. You are simply identified with a false image, mistaking the costume for the actor, the waves for the ocean. And this is where the transformation begins, not in the accumulation of more knowledge, not in the performance of more rituals, not in the desperate search for external validation, but in the simple, profound recognition of what you already are. You do not need to become divine. You need only to stop pretending you are not. This is the great work. This is the only work. Everything else is distraction, entertainment, postponement. We fill our lives with 1,000 tasks, 1,000 ambitions, 1,000 dramas, all to avoid this one simple act of recognition. Why? Because in that recognition, everything changes. The petty tyrant, who ruled your inner kingdom, the ego, with all its fears and demands, must step down from the throne. And the ego does not go quietly, it will offer you 1,000 compromises. Fine, it says, be spiritual. But let me manage the spirituality. Let me be the one who becomes enlightened. Let me add this to my collection of achievements. And so you see people who have turned the path itself into another ego project, spiritual materialism at its finest. They collect teachers like trophies, practices like credentials, experiences like souvenirs. They have traded the marketplace of the world for the marketplace of the spirit. But the merchant is still the same. True awakening is not an achievement. It is a surrender. It is not an adding but a subtracting. Not a becoming but an unbecoming. Every step forward is actually a step backward, a return to what was always here, a remembering of what was never truly forgotten. The Upanishads speak of the two birds sitting on the same tree. One frantically eats the fruit sweet and bitter, ripe and rotten, always hungry, always restless. The other simply watches, serene, complete, needing nothing. These are not two birds. These are two perspectives of the same consciousness. You have been the eating bird so long, you have forgotten you are also the watching bird. You are both, yet in truth, you are neither. You are the tree itself, the branch, the sky that holds it all. You see, the watcher does not judge what the Damtio eater does. It simply times his asterisk. It does not say, "Oh, I should not have eaten that fruit," or "I must eat more, I must eat better." No, it watches with the calmness of eternity. And here is where your freedom lies, not in stopping the eating, not in silencing the desires, but in times remembering times that you are also the watcher. When pain comes, when loss visits your door, when the world says you have failed at that moment, if you can step back, even for one breath, and watch yourself suffering, something miraculous happens. The suffering does not vanish, no, but its grip loosens. You see it as a wave passing through, not the ocean itself. You are not destroyed by it because you recognize, I am the one experiencing this. Yes, but I am also the one times aware times of the experience. And that awareness, my friend, cannot be touched. Think of your own life. How many times have you been shattered? How many deaths have you died while still breathing? The end of love, the collapse of dreams, the betrayal of those you trusted. And yet, here you are. Still here. Something in you survived every ending. What is that something? Not your body, it has changed completely since childhood. Not your thoughts, they come and go, like clouds. Not even your personality, you are not who you were 10 years ago. So what remains? The witness, the silent seer, the consciousness that has watched every chapter of your story, without ever being written into the plot. Asterisk, that times is your true self. That is what the Upanishads call Atman. And here is the great secret they whisper. This Atman, this innermost witness, is not separate from Brahman, the infinite reality. The observer in you is not a small, isolated spark, it is the whole fire pretending to be a single flame. When the scriptures say, Tat tvam asi asterisk, thou art, that times they are not speaking poetry. They are stating a fact. You are not a fragment of God. You are not a child, who will someday grow into divinity. You are, right now, in this moment, the divine reality, experiencing itself through the costume of your name, your story, your fears, your joys. This is not philosophy for debate halls. This is not metaphysics for intellectual entertainment. This is the most practical truth you will ever encounter. Because everything, and I mean everything, changes when you stop seeking what you already are. The anxious mind that lies awake at night, it dissolves when you realize you are the awareness watching the anxiety, not the anxiety itself. The heartbreak that feels like it will destroy you, it loses its power when you understand that you are the eternal witness, untouched by the storms passing through your experience. The failure that makes you question your worth, it becomes irrelevant when you know that your essence was never dependent on success or failure in the first place. I watch people torture themselves with questions. Am I good enough? Am I loved? Do I matter? Will I be remembered? And I want to shake them. Awake, these questions only exist because you have forgotten who you are. The ocean does not ask if a single wave is good enough. The sun does not worry if one ray matters. And you, infinite, eternal, divine you, need not beg the universe for significance. You are the universe, playing at limitation. But here is what troubles me most: you have been conditioned to worship gods outside yourself. To bow before temples and churches and mosques, seeking a divinity that lives in the sky, on a mountain, across an ocean. And I tell you now, every altar you kneel before, you are worshiping yourself. Every prayer you whisper into the darkness, you are speaking to your own infinite nature. God is not out there. God is the very consciousness, reading these words right now. Does this sound like blasphemy? Good. Truth often does to those who have been fed comfortable lies. I am not here to make you comfortable. I am here to set you free from the prison of your own misconceptions. And freedom, my friend, begins with understanding that devotion is not weakness, it is the highest form of courage. The world will tell you that surrender makes you small, that laying your ego at the feet of the divine is somehow an admission of defeat. But I tell you this: it takes no courage to grasp. It takes no strength to control. A child can clench his fist around a toy and refuse to let go. But to open your hand, to release everything you thought defined you, that requires a warrior's heart. I have seen scholars who could recite every verse of every scripture, yet their hearts remained as dry as dust in summer. And I have seen illiterate village women who could not tell you the difference between Vedanta and Vedas, but who knew God more intimately than I know my own breath. What was the difference? The scholars held knowledge in their heads like trophies on a shelf. The women held God in their hearts like a mother holds her child. This is what the modern world has forgotten in its rush toward information. We have confused knowing about God with knowing God. We have mistaken the menu for the meal, the map for the territory. You can memorize every word of the Bhagavad Gita and still be spiritually starving. Or you can speak one name with complete sincerity, and the universe responds. Because devotion is not about words, it is about resonance. When you call out to the divine with your whole being, not just your voice, not just your intellect, but every cell of your body trembling with longing, something shifts. The barriers dissolve. The separation you thought was real reveals itself as the grandest illusion. And yes, this terrifies the ego. Because the ego survives on separation. It thrives on the story of me versus the world, me versus God, me versus everything. Devotion threatens that story. It whispers the dangerous truth. There is no separation. There never was. You and the divine are not two things trying to meet, you are one thing that has forgotten itself. This is why I say devotion is the path of the brave. Not because it requires you to perform great austerities or spectacular rituals, but because it requires you to die to everything you thought you were, so that what you truly are can finally live.